Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
You are listening to the Brilliance Business Show. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. Conversations with leading experts in business. And today I have an amazing guest, Úna Doyle. Úna is a business strategist, mindset coach, and our topic today is how to stop undercharging and overdelivering. Úna, welcome to the Brilliance Business Show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, Mark.
We're super looking forward to a conversation with you. Before I get started, I just need to make a disclaimer that Úna is not offering legal advice or legal assistance. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, Úna?
Of course, yes. So what I do is I share, when I'm working with my clients, I share business skills and strategies and help them to tap into their own genius and things. But everybody always has to do their own due diligence on what is best for them.
Well, we're super looking forward to being turned into geniuses today, Úna. Let's get started with the show. Can you share with our listeners a little bit about yourself and your business, and also about how to stop undercharging and over-delivering?
Yes, absolutely. Well, creative service-based business owners, they hire me to help them increase their sales and their profits, but without turning into a stuffy suit or feeling like they're selling their soul. And the reason is that most creatives were never actually taught how to run a business. And there is a real tendency for creative business owners to devalue their work, because when we're working in our natural strengths and talents, things come easy to us. And then sometimes we think, because it comes easy to me, it comes easy to everybody else. But that's not actually the case. And also, people don't necessarily have the right strategies and sometimes the confidence to charge higher prices and to really put themselves out there in a bigger way, despite the fact that creative business owners often have, really big visions because they're naturally big teachers. So what I help them to do is to be able to confidently and profitably attract and convert their ideal, 4- and 5-figure soulmate clients. And I'm really on a mission to eradicate the epidemic of undercharging and over-delivering in creative services. So bottom line, it's about creative entrepreneurs discovering how to confidently and profitably run their business their way.
It's a really important point, actually, Úna, that you have to value yourself and you have to really charge what you are worth. And it all starts with mindset and believing in yourself. Can you share with our audience who are your clients? Who are your customers?
Sure. So I typically work with people who are in design, creating websites, animation, marketing, copywriting, photography, video production. So, the kind of service-based businesses that, apart from, say, wedding and portrait photography, there are often business-to-business services as well. And they tend to be run by the kind of person who is a naturally creative person, that they are a big thinker, they tend to have lots of ideas, tend to be great at starting things, not always so good at finishing them. And by the way, I'm describing myself here too.
Maybe me too.
Well, my background is in creative services myself. I used to do PR and marketing in agencies, and I spent 7 years doing that. And it's quite interesting. Like my journey of discovery, kind of that led me to this path, and that led me to actually working with other creatives. But yes, these are the people who I love to work with, who have so much to offer, but don't always feel it, or they just have kind of got as far as they can on their own.
Do you recall a specific aha moment that led to the launch of your business?
I wouldn't say just one. I would say there's probably a series of them. Because I actually first set up doing life coaching. And the reason why I did that is I was basically had been completely miserable. So, at a point in my life, I was, working in creative services, often working kind of, 50, 60 hours a week, whilst I was doing a business degree part-time, and I was unhappily married, and I just really didn't like myself very much. I had no confidence. Even though people from the outside, a lot of them would have said that I am confident, that I was confident back then because I am an extrovert and I can talk to people, but that is not the same thing as actually being confident, as actually having high self-esteem. And so I was very hard on myself. I had a lot of negative self-talk, the voice in your head that goes, oh, you can't do that, or who do you think you are, or you're not good enough for that, or you don't deserve this. So I had a lot of that going on, and I was very, very lucky that as part of my job, I was asked to go out and network to promote the agency. And at a networking event, there was a life coach. I'd never even heard of life coaching. In fact, at that point, most people hadn't, because that was probably about 18 years ago now, I'd say, and maybe even a little bit longer. And so she was talking about how a lot of women, in trying to get ahead, become fake men. And this was like a massive, oh my gosh, because for me, I wasn't trying to get ahead because I didn't want to become a fake man. But I could see it in other people in the agency I was in and just in the industry, how that was what, women were often doing to get ahead. And so I ended up going on a workshop that she ran, and it just opened me up to the world of personal development. So, and then from that, I, started reading books and attending seminars. And I'd say probably the biggest aha moment was reading a book you may have heard of called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Is that one in your library?
I have heard of it, yes.
Yeah, highly recommend it, highly recommend it. Well, one of the 7 habits is begin with the end in mind. And there was a particular exercise, which I won't ruin for people. It's one of those things that you kind of need to come to it without knowing what it is about. And in that exercise, I realized that I was blaming everybody in my life for me being unhappy. I was blaming my parents, my family, my teachers, my then husband, my bosses, my work colleagues, you name it. I was blaming them for something or other. And I just had this massive realization of, I need to take responsibility. I need to decide what do I want my future to be and to create that. And actually, that it was up to me. If you want it to be, it's up to me. So that was probably, even though that was a few years before I trained as a coach and set up in business, that definitely sent my life in a whole other trajectory. Because it's a scary thing to take responsibility for your life. Yet, if you don't, you're actually making yourself powerless. You're at the whim of everybody else if you don't actually take charge of that. Being in blame means, you don't have the responsibility of taking charge, but you've no power either. You're basically powerless and saying, I have no control. I can't determine what my life is going to be. So that was probably one aha moment that led me to be there. Another one was when I realized that I was over £50,000 in debt, which led to me ultimately, it took a few years, but it led to me having to go bankrupt. that was quite a wake-up call for me, as you can imagine. I set up in business thinking, oh, well, I've got a business degree now, and I've worked in creative agencies. I know how to market. I feel like I'm quite naturally good at coaching. I've had very good training in it. And I just never envisaged that all my emotional crap would get in my way. Partly that, and partly just my natural strengths and weaknesses. Any strength overdone becomes a weakness. And so I think this is one of the challenges for creatively minded people in business. Because I did it a lot, where I would start something, it wouldn't quite work out, and I'd be like, oh, that's okay. There's 10 more ideas where that one came from. And so then I would go in a different direction. But all that did was actually destroy trust with the people around me, because they didn't really know what I stood for. They didn't really know who I was or what I was doing. So it was more of a kind of chaotic type of change rather than a sustainable evolution kind of change. Because your businesses are going to change over time. There's no doubt about that. But my own, I still had a lot of growing to do. But that actually sent me into training in the business side, because, having a business degree actually did not prepare me for running a small business. And so I went and did some training that did. And it makes a big difference. I'm very much into mindset and into the more spiritual side of things. And I'm also a very, very practical person. So I think it's important that, look, here's what I would say is that, just like you can't out-exercise a bad diet, you can't out-strategize self-sabotaging behaviors. So the mindset and the patterns that people have are really, really important. And at the same time, there are, you need to have skills to actually make your business work too.
You've made some great points there, Una. Personal development is so important. Taking responsibility, I find when you do finally take responsibility for your own actions, that's when the magic starts to happen. You also touched on debt. I have been in debt myself, and it does hold you back. I always say, to create a more abundant future, put the debt away into a payment plan and forget about it, and focus totally on abundance. So great points there. What really motivates you to jump out of bed every single morning?
Well, it's about making an impact. In fact, that's my theme word for this year, impact. And I think as business owners, we can do that very directly with how we help our clients. And obviously the kind of work that I'm doing, I'm helping people to grow their business, but they do that by growing themselves as well. And then that has an impact on the people in their life, their loved ones, their clients. And so you get this wonderful kind of ripple effect out into the world just from doing what comes naturally to you that you love to do. And that's amazing to be able to jump out of bed and get to work with clients and make a difference in that way. And I now also have brought some more things into that I now am doing giving as part of my business. It's not quite on the website yet, might be by the time people see this, but now every time somebody buys something from me, I actually do some giving with that. And that might be, clean water. I've been giving things like supporting beekeepers to run their business in third world countries, supporting solar lights, and the kind of hire of sewing machines and sewing training, so that women can actually be productive and creative and, generate incomes and look to change their lives and the lives of their families. And it's amazing. You can actually do a lot of good with very little. And I think this is one of the things that I'm looking to kind of communicate to people as well is that, to be a philanthropist, I think people think you need to be like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, where you have millions and billions of dollars in the bank, and actually that doesn't have to be the case at all. We can, the organization that I do this through is called B1G1.com. It stands for Buy One, Give One. And they talk about the power of small. And I think that's really important. It's actually a lesson that is very prescient for creatives, because we tend to think big. We tend to want big goals, big dreams, big steps, big transformations. And yet actually business success often comes about by consistently taking smaller steps, by, building better habits, by bit letting go of what is not you and creating better patterns. So it's quite interesting. That has, this idea of impact is, we can impact our clients. We can also impact through giving. And if people aren't in a position yet where they can afford to give financially, then they can give of their time, So, yeah, I think that's quite important to me now. It really motivates me. And actually, a kind of what some people might say is more selfish aspect of it is that it feels really good to give. When I sit at my computer and I go, okay, right, who's bought this? Okay, great, I get to donate that. Oh, what else have I sold? Brilliant. Okay, now we get to give that away. And it feels so amazing to know you're giving that impact. And if you also have structured your business the right way around what has you be in flow, working to your natural strengths and talents, then actually you get to be motivated by expressing who you are through your business. And I think that's something that certainly creative entrepreneurs can do, because they usually are being creative as a part of their business. And what I like to do is help them to be creative in the running the business part as well. But, in the kind of solid, consistent way, there's this balance between structure and creativity. And actually, as any creative person will know, that when you have constraints, it forces you to be more creative. And you kind of need to do that in your business to get this balance between, chaos on the one side and a kind of stuffy suit, completely structured and compliant type of business on the other. There's this nice to the right of the middle kind of path that we can weave, where, you have enough, kind of what I call the Goldilocks amount of structure, that there's enough structure to make your business work and allow you to be the best of you in that.
Great words of wisdom there. We need more people like you in the world, Una. What sets your business apart, and what unique need are you filling for your clients?
Well, it's interesting, actually. A lot of my clients, when we first talk, they say, oh, you get me. And there's this real sense of relief because they've often been trying to do things on their own. And they've often also talked to other coaches who perhaps are leaning more towards the too structured side of things for them. And so they kind of feel a bit hemmed in by them, or they're talking to people who are very woo-woo, but in an airy-fairy way. So, I totally believe in the law of attraction and in manifesting, and I'm very spiritual. And as I said, I'm also very practical. And so I think, I believe in the law of action as well. And I also understand how planning works and you choosing the right business model and the right strategies for who you are, focusing on the right steps for what you're doing. I think those are really, really important. And so I think then my clients feel like, oh, right, okay, So this person understands business and they understand the creative mind. So I think that's really important. And I've ended up kind of evolving what I do into what I call the creative success code methodology. And there's three main aspects to that. So one is focus. So what are your best next steps to take? And you've got to look at, well, where are you? And what are the positive mindsets and patterns that got you there? And where do you want to be? And what are the next 3 steps for you to take in order to move you closer to achieving your ambitions? And then look at, well, what are the negative mindsets and patterns that could slow you or stop you from successfully taking those steps? So we're looking at the practicalities of what to do and making sure that, what could stop you, we clear that out of the way. The second aspect is flow. So this is about identifying your best structures to get into and stay in flow. So as I mentioned, what is the best business model for you? And I use a personality profiling tool to help us to identify this with my clients. Because what would be right for me might not be right for them. And a lot of people who become coaches, they go, oh, I built my business this way, and so I'm going to teach you to do the same. But actually what works for me might not work for them because we have different natural strengths. Yeah. So understanding the best business model and growth strategies for you, putting in place plans that, and this is where I love to take this mix of really helping people to tap into their intuition, into their inspiration, into their guidance, and then turn that into a plan. Helping them to put into place a client attraction and conversion engine. You would be amazed how businesses can be going for 10, 20 years and not have this in place. They're often very good at structuring what they do for their clients, but they don't always do the same thing to how they run their business. And obviously, if they don't have a good flow of potential clients coming their way and be able to convert those into clients, then it means that business is always going to be in this kind of feast and famine roller coaster. So, and then as businesses, either they might have already or they might be growing their teams, just things like looking at, well, how do you communicate and have meetings with those teams? How do you assess staff performance and what processes need to be put in place to make things work? So again, this is about this is more about the workflow, but it's still about the flow. So that's everything from it doesn't matter whether you're at a startup or you have multiple teams, you still need to make sure that you've got flow in your business. And then the third aspect is creative leadership. So this is about understanding how to identify and unblock blocks to flow, your personal productivity. So I teach them how to master their mornings. I teach them intuitive implementation where they're looking at, what kind of comes to them, because creative people are very intuitive. And it's about tapping into that, but without throwing out the plan every time they have a new idea. It's about looking at their practices around meditation and how they manifest and what's the best way for them to become a money magnet. It's about mindset momentum, helping them to create the mindsets and patterns so that they do successfully implement. And it's also about them leading other people once they are at that stage so they can build high-performing, trusted teams. The kinds of ones that you can actually go away from the business on a long holiday and things run better when you come back than when you left. And how you actually review and renew performance and plans and systems and processes so that, you have a solid business. But you're doing it in a way that is kind of integrating proven and profound business principles with the mindset and spirituality.
Great strategies there. And like you, I believe strongly in the law of attraction, but also I take a lot of action. I love that, Una.
Exactly.
Why is your service especially important in today's modern world?
Well, you talk to the vast majority of creative services providers, and they will tell you that they feel like a commodity. See, here's the thing, is that creatives are trained, when they learn to be a designer or they learn website stuff, they're trained to get a job, not to run a business. But actually, the whole way the industry has gone is that, freelancing is massively on the rise. And it's really interesting because, the creative industries as a whole, like they're actually one of the fastest growing industries in the UK and abroad. But the thing is that, when people haven't been trained how to run a business, then that makes it hard for them. And I think the other reason is that, we all have these things that we carry in our hands called phones, smartphones. And we have apps on there that let us do a lot of what used to be in this magic black box called creativity. So years ago, if somebody wanted a video for their business, like they really had no idea where you would even start with something like that. Now we can just click a button on our phone and go live. So it's really changed the customer's perception of creativity. So it's so important for creatives to be able to demonstrate their worth and to be able to really add value in helping to achieve their clients' objectives. And so that's a big part of them being able to put together a really strong, compelling offer that sells itself. But they have to get focused in on who they're working with and what their biggest problems are, and create compelling offers that help solve those problems or help them, achieve an aspiration. It's they can't kind of just go, oh, well, yes, I can make a video for you. Oh, great, thank you. It's like it's very, very different now. And so the way, they need to understand how to choose a great ideal client, how to put together a compelling offer, what are the best ways for them to generate leads, and what do they do once they have somebody who is a prospective customer? What are the steps that they take them through that genuinely educate and add value and help to identify, are you a good fit? And what do they really need? These are some of the things that aren't always in place in creative businesses, because maybe in the past they didn't have to do that so much because there wasn't the same level of competition that there is now. I mean, that's the third thing is that, you've got global competition for a lot of creative services. A local photographer might think, oh, that doesn't affect me as much. But it kind of does, because it does mean there's a lower barrier to entry. So you will have more local competition as well. So they've got to be able to position themselves to stand out from the competition, to be highly attractive to their ideal clients. And they've got to be able to deliver something that is actually really meaningful and compelling to their ideal clients, so that price isn't an issue, that it's only one of the considerations, rather than what a lot of creatives, particularly freelancers, one-person businesses face, but even some of the bigger businesses, you'd be surprised, is that they are being treated like a commodity. They kind of, make proposals and spend loads of time proposing things, and then the client's nephew gets given the job, who is still a student at university. So yeah, I think this is why it's so important. Creators are facing a very, very, very different landscape than they used to do. And of course, then that brings up all their insecurities. So the mindset stuff really comes into play then as well.
Can you share more detail on the kinds of services and products you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do business coaching and mindset coaching on a one-to-one basis. I do work with some clients that we just purely do the mindset work. And so sometimes they, they can be quite advanced in their businesses, but they still have this kind of imposter syndrome thing going on. And I also have got, I'm just in the process of launching a new program, which is bringing together the best of everything that I've been doing in recent years, and it's called Unleashed, Unapologetic and Unstoppable, which I'm very, very excited about. And that's a group program where people can do the mindset work, where we can, make sure that they're getting all their positioning and offers and all of those things right, that they actually have got working business plans. I'm not talking about a 50-page document that gets shoved into a drawer. I'm talking about very simple plans that they're able to follow and kind of tweak, that provides the accountability and support that they need. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about that. And then I also provide this kind of more standard group coaching as well, which I would call intuitive implementation. Because at the end of the day, I'm all about implementation. If things don't get implemented, if they don't get done, then nothing changes or improves. So if you want to have a different business, then you're going to have to do things differently. And I also have some short courses and workshops. Like I have one called Fun, Flow and Focus, where people get to learn their personality profile and what impacts that makes on their business in terms of their business model and growth strategies. So they go away from that with a much better understanding of themselves and how they can operate in business, and what lead generation strategies are going to work best for them. So yeah, so some quite simple, short things, and other kind of much more in-depth, longer-term programs where you've got massive transformation happening.
Now, I would imagine you have all sorts of client success stories. What is one that really stands out in your mind?
Oh, gosh, only one?
The best one in your mind. What's one that really jumps out to you?
Gosh. I would say, could I do just one line on a few? Because I've got so there's a client I worked with who in 6 months we doubled her revenues for the year. And as soon as she realized that happened, she immediately started self-sabotaging herself. And that was actually why I brought the mindset tool that I use, which is incredibly powerful. I've done a lot of different mindset stuff, but this one for years, head and shoulders above it. And that actually made me bring that back into the business, because I was like, this is crazy. This person knows exactly what to do. They've already brought on new clients. They've got the right steps in place. They know what to charge, what packages. And then they'd come on after a little break and said, oh, I've got this new prospect. And what should I charge them, Una? I was like, no. You already know this stuff. That's just self-sabotage. And so thankfully they have done the mindset work as well, and and their business is growing again. So I think that's really important. Just something else, actually, if you don't mind me taking another moment, is I have also had clients who've had quite, who have suffered from anxiety and depression. And in fact, I've even had a couple who were having suicidal thoughts. And the mindset tool I use is so powerful that they don't have suicidal thoughts anymore.
Well, that really stands out, and how satisfying that must feel when you've helped someone to really focus their mind and get back into a forwards motion. I'm really inspired by that, Una. How do clients typically hear about you, and are there certain life moments that usually lead to them seeking you out?
Well, typically my clients have got a level of success already. So they have an up and running business. They're, providing great service for their clients. But they feel a bit fed up doing it on their own. And they struggle to understand, how can I get to the next level of success without killing myself in the process, without kind of, completely burning myself out. And so sometimes they are a bit burnt out, actually. I think people think burnout is, where you completely crash and burn, or only high-flying executives who are jetting around the world get burnout. But actually, that's not true at all. If people aren't running in their business in the ways that suit them, then actually that means they're spending a lot of their time out of flow. Now, when you're working in flow, it's impossible to be in flow and stressed in the same moment. And being in flow, you know those moments when you're totally immersed in what you're doing, when you just lose all sense of time. Sometimes it speeds up and sometimes it can slow down as well. And you just feel really connected to your work. And even when you're facing challenges, you're confident about overcoming them. So that's what I mean by, that you're feeling in flow. So they're usually feeling out of flow. And really, they want a sounding board. They want support and guidance. They don't always know what they need, but that's why, I'll always have, detailed conversations with people. And I do very in-depth questionnaires and things like that in initial sessions to really get clarity for people on, well, what do they need? Did they just need that one interaction and now they've learned something and they just need to go and implement it? Or actually, are there some deeply held patterns that we need to shift and we need to work together for a few months? Those kinds of things. So I think really that they want to change. That at the end of the day, that's what they want. They want to change. They want to have a more successful business. They want to spend more time in their personal life and have the money to enjoy the lifestyle. And they want to make an impact too. At least my clients do. Someone who comes to me and says, Una, I want to really change this in the world. Whether that's their clients, the work that they do for their clients, and or actually, I want to make a difference to this cause or that cause. That really excites me, and I'm really motivated to help them.
You're doing great things, Una, and I can see your passion. You've shared so much knowledge, strategies. Is there anything we did not cover today that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, there's two things actually. The first is just an idea that it's actually a really, really, really positive thing to want to put yourself and your goals first. I find with a lot of creatives, and particularly the female ones, I do work with both men and women, but I find there is a real reluctance for people to put themselves first. They think that makes them selfish or greedy. They care too much what other people think. But then it means themselves and their goals always get put on the back foot. It's like, when is it my time? Now is your time, okay? And that means setting boundaries. It means getting real clarity on what you want and how to get there. And even though that might be a bit scary, and actually, putting everybody else first can be an avoidance strategy, I can help you with the resistance. I can help you release that and to release the fears around doing this so that you actually feel confident and you still feel like a good person. You still feel like a nice person. Because it's not selfish. Like every nice person who asks me this, I said, well, do you think people who aren't nice ever ask me that question? Is it selfish to put myself first? No, they don't care. So if you care about it, it just proves that you're a nice person. And you putting yourself first and your goals first means that you want to do the best for your loved ones, means you want to do the best for your clients. So that's the first thing is please, please, please don't be afraid to put yourself first. And then the second thing is I have some free resources that people can access. So my website is creativeflow.tv. And then if you go /resources, I have a whole load of free things there. So I've got a free Facebook group called the Courageous Creatives Community. I have a freebie, a checklist called How to Stop Undercharging and Overdelivering. And I've got a couple of quizzes that people can take. So the first one is the Which Creative Entrepreneur Are You quiz. And this is designed to help you identify what are your best 3 steps to be focusing on, okay, depending on where you are right now. And then the other quiz is called Which is Your Sneaky Subconscious Saboteur? And this will help identify, are you a martyr or are you a control freak or, a secret agent. I've got all these different kinds of subconscious saboteurs that might be getting in your way. So, and it's with both of those quizzes, there is free training videos that you can access as well. So please go and access, go and look at that page, the creativeflow.tv/resources, and pick whichever one or more resources will be helpful for you right now.
That's really great. And could you just share your website address once more for our listeners?
Yes, of course. www.creativeflow.tv.
Una, I've really enjoyed the conversation with you today. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation.
You are so welcome. Today, I've been having a conversation with Úna Doyle, business strategist, mindset coach. Our topic has been how to stop undercharging and over-delivering. You have been listening to the Brilliance Business Show. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. Until next time, goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.